Let's see. All right. So we should be joined by Nicholas pretty soon. And hey, Nicholas, how are you?
Raj, very good. Yourself?
Excellent. Yeah, it's great. Yeah, thank you so much for joining us. I'm super glad that we're getting to share this with the ILC community. And I'm actually just wrapping up some announcements here from ILC, and then we'll get started with a quick intro from myself and all about you then. So just to
Sounds
kind
good.
of continue with those announcements, special thanks to our July sponsor, Hanley Communications, for continuing to support ILC digital events like this one. And definitely check out the Instagram and LinkedIn giveaways where there are keychains, t-shirts, and other giveaways if you tag your friends in posts and tell them to follow. So check out the profile post for more info. And finally, please consider donating to ILC as well. Go Moment is a proud sponsor there, and ILC definitely relies heavily on live events as the main source of revenue, and any donations are appreciated there to keep ILC going through this challenging time. I know we have some incredible supporters in the audience already, and lots more to join. You can donate on the website at ilcongress.com. And I think with that, we can get started with today's session. So as a quick introduction, I'm Raj Singh. I'm founder and CEO at Go Moment. We created Ivy, the world's first smart concierge, and we are delighted to have this discussion today with the legendary general manager of the OPUS Vancouver property, Nicholas Gandossi. Nicholas, thanks so much for joining us. And I'd love to kind of kick off our discussion with you just describing to everybody that's tuned in and will watch this later about your background and your career in hospitality, which I teased a little bit on my LinkedIn profile yesterday, but I'd love to hear it. I'm sure everybody's dying to hear it directly from you.
I appreciate the intro, Raj, and thank you for having me on. Well, it started back when I was 19, flipping burgers, as you so eloquently put out, where I started to enjoy my interactions with people. But I realized it wasn't involving food, that portion was not something I wanted to continue on, and decided to start the career in hotels. And I was very fortunate to start with Four Seasons, where I truly learned I guess as people have heard, how to exceed expectations. And started parking cars, concierge, bellman, doorman, guest service manager, you name it. And it was a great 8 years. Had a fun time really getting to learn hospitality at its true core. I went away and lived abroad for a couple of years in Japan. And when I came back, I realized it's hotels. I love hotels, and it's in my DNA. So I started with the Pan Pacific Hotel, Pan Pacific Hotels and Resorts here in Vancouver, and had 8 years of every position throughout the front office, guest services, a variety of roles, and really crafted my skills around how, in a larger property setting, hotels seem to manage and work and operate very successfully, as Pan Pacific does. From there, our director of operations approached me regarding this beautiful property, Opus. And we started conversations of how this boutique hotel was going to be unlike anything else in the city, and how it was going to have a brand and a presence that was going to be new to the market and resonate with what it was missing here, and have a great opportunity to start fresh. So I said, count me in. And here I am, 18 years later, Raj. They call me
Wow.
Father Time. I'm still here.
Oh, that's
But
amazing.
I love everything about Opus, the brand, the people, and I'm just happy to be here to be talking to you about it.
Absolutely. It's what an incredible journey, with it sounds like a lot of different exposure, especially, with your trip to Japan. And I'm sure that's had quite an influence in terms of just the attention to detail and the hospitality experience that's quite different, region to region. And it's interesting that you mentioned about being bit by the hospitality bug. I think we're all in it together in terms of, loving the hotel space and really not being able to do anything else once you've been exposed to, just what an impact you can have in the space. So, that's really incredible to kind of hear about your journey. And now that we've been working together for years, it's really interesting. I'd love to understand from your perspective, for a property as unique as Opus Vancouver, pre-COVID, what were your guest expectations as far as the guest experience, and how were you making the guest stay already more enjoyable, comfortable, and safe, prior to the pandemic, and then certainly we'll discuss pandemic related things just after as well.
Sure. Yeah. Prior to the pandemic, I mean, it's all about, for us, a lot about design, the decor, how we stay unique. Our tagline, uniquely stylish and always fresh, is something we really live by, and focused how we wanted to create and craft the guest experience.
Mm-hmm.
Our location, Soho-esque of Vancouver, with the best neighborhood, close to the water, the seawall, all the top restaurants and bars. So we're very fortunate that our guests, when they came to our neighborhood-like hotel, just really felt like they were in a unique, special experience that would not be necessarily replicated in another major cosmopolitan city. And so you have those elements, but Raj, like any real good hotel, you have to have the service, you have to have the foundation, you have to have that warm, welcoming feeling that I feel if you don't start the experience right there at that perfect warmth and level of approachability, then everything else starts to not feel as important, and those other technologies or any kind of extra elements you pull in, they
Mm-hmm.
lose a bit of their exposure, or anything that will give them a little push to add into it. So you have to have the service.
Absolutely. Service is all things in hospitality, and it's interesting that the definition of service and of how we take care of our guests is changing so rapidly these days. So Nicholas, I've got to know, like, when COVID hit, and when the pandemic became kind of the main news story that everybody's tuned into. What was your initial reaction with regards to your property, and how were you looking at managing the guest expectations moving forward after the pandemic?
Sure. Yeah. Well, like all of us, in North America, we were watching it creep closer, and then when things really became quite serious and grave here closer to home, luckily, as an independent boutique hotel, we were able to make quick decisions, and in a setting with our senior management team and ownership, and decide what's best really for our staff, their families, the guests. As a lot of organizations have to go through this process, and we decided to close the property, and ensure that safe environment, has to happen for all of us until we can bridge to the next, hopefully better times and better business working environments, let's call it.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, we had to go through a whole process of what kind of protocols, what kind of ways we're going to have to look at to change that guest experience when we do reopen, and how we're going to have to. It's consistency. Funny, it's always been related to service, and now consistency is going to be related to safety, and having that transparency, and having people truly believe that from the room supervisor to the room attendant to the general manager, everyone is living and breathing those protocols, and they understand it, and they believe in it. And I think
Absolutely.
through that confidence, I think guests will then pick that up, and then have an ability to then enjoy truly the guest experience, knowing they're in a safe environment.
100%. It's exactly what we're hearing across the hundreds of hotels that we're working with. Some of them, especially the ones that have reopened, the mix of things that are on the guest's mind, and the kinds of things that guests are talking about and asking about are totally different today than they were 6 months ago.
Yeah.
And I think that we have to reimagine as an industry, what is a safe, comfortable, and enjoyable hospitality experience. And I think that listening to the guests there, really getting data oriented makes perfect sense. In this context. So one thing that I think is kind of interesting, and I'd like to get your thoughts on, is that Arne Sorensen, the CEO of Marriott, recently said in an interview that young travelers will be the leading edge of the recovery. And I'd love to understand from your perspective, how are you positioning Opus to help attract younger travelers? And, what are the things that younger travelers are going to demand that maybe, 6 months ago were not as much of a focus, but will be more of a focus moving forward?
Sure. Yeah. I think the brand has always appealed to the entrepreneurial, adventurous spirit, which can be any wide spectrum of age group. We're going to have to really adapt to what people want in the guest experiences, a contactless experience, like how efficiently they're getting into the hotel, how we're keeping people safe so they can have the true Opus boutique experience. Right now with all the border closures and restrictions on travel, it's a very fluid environment that we're operating in, and trying to focus on where we want to market to and the demographic, like you're saying, Raj. Our backyard is where we're going to be in the province of BC, primarily focusing on as a neighborhood hotel. We're fortunate with our location, as I mentioned to you. Those staycations that drive traffic, until things start to open up more between Alberta or Washington State and Oregon, it's quite limiting. And every hotel is going to have to go through their own individual process of how they focus out geographically where we're going to try and attract more travelers. Age groups aside, they're going to have to just see the realities of what's happening out there, and seeing what they can entice, what add-ons. It's not about rate all the time. People are going to be looking for deals, but they're also going to be looking for value. They're going to say, okay, what if I go to that property, what am I going to experience over the other property?
Exactly. And so as guests look to, certainly rate is an important thing, but again, discounting is not always the answer. Dropping rate is not always the answer. So what are those areas, like you mentioned, contactless hospitality? And this is exactly what, we're seeing out there as well, that, guests are very, and rightly, reticent to touch anything, to even hand over credit cards or anything else like that, if they can avoid it. And certainly, at Opus, you've had Ivy there for years, and contactless hospitality even before the pandemic. So, you guys have been very prescient in terms of adopting technology that is practical and useful to guests. I'm curious that in terms of, outside of rate, what can hoteliers do that's really going to move the needle, really going to help attract those, the younger travelers that we all believe are going to be the leading edge of the recovery, especially as you mentioned, the folks that are driving up rather than flying. So, they've got a lot more flexibility in terms of when they check out, when they, take off, even from a day or week kind of perspective. So I'm just curious in terms of what are your thoughts, and where do you see the industry going there for independent hotels?
Sure. Well, I think because of, some of the outcomes such as leaving the rooms vacant. Hotels are going to have to understand in their cleaning protocols, they're going to have a time where the room isn't occupied. And so where that allows a hotel then to potentially give an opportunity is a late checkout. So we've adopted the strategy of we're leaving our rooms vacant for 24 hours, which is going to give us then a timeline where we can automatically give everyone a 3 p.m. late checkout. And I think each hotel is going to have to be creative in their own way, depending on their circumstances and their property size and what they're trying to go attack with occupancy, is to give something back. Because a lot of hotels are going to be stripping away. Well, we can't do this. There's these taken out of the room to keep a safe environment. There's potentially services like in-room dining or valet that are going to be peeled back in some form or manner. So hotels, to answer your question, Raj, are going to have to find a way to not just say, listen, here's a little bit of a reduced rate and here's a reduced experience. You're going to have to come to the table with something else. We're going to institute a program called curbside check-in. So and the guests will be able to, in advance of their arrival, have the billing set up, have everything seamless, and have the bellman simply give them their key packet, and away they go. So
Wow.
it's a bit of a feeling like a rock star package. I like
Yeah.
to think of it, but also with safety elements. So, again, each hotel is going to have to say, well, how are we going to react and pivot to the environment that our guests are giving feedback in, and then address their concerns or interests on some kind of service.
Absolutely. That curbside check-in process, that sounds incredible. And I've heard this said in certain circles that COVID has been as much an accelerant as it has been a change agent. So that the things that we were going to accomplish as an industry anyway by 2025, maybe we just have to get them done this year, and we have to
Totally, yeah.
really accelerate the pace at which at which we're innovating the guest experience there. So it's really really amazing, and certainly I know for as a traveling member of the public today, I feel much safer at a property where I'm not required to go to the front desk in order to check in and exchange a bunch of information there. So kudos to you and your team for enabling that experience ahead of most of the market on the independent hotel side. So that's really amazing.
I appreciate that, Raj. I mean, I think that's the advantage of a boutique independent hotel without maybe a corporate layer of approval process that, how do you react, and how quick can you come to the table with something that will then, make a difference in the guest experience.
Absolutely. Staying nimble is the biggest advantage, right, of being independent. And I think that's a great thing for everybody to keep in mind, that that nimbleness is exactly what we can lean on and really exercise at this point.
100%.
There was this really interesting study recently done by Skift and Oracle that actually asked the traveling population, asked guests essentially, what would make you feel safer for your COVID, during COVID and post COVID travels. And it was really interesting because actually 35% of guests said that they would feel safer at hotels that are offering contactless payments. And 20% of guests actually said that they would feel safer at hotels that are offering digital messaging services where they don't have to necessarily, they can orchestrate room service, towel orders, other information like that directly through their own mobile device, rather than having to touch a tablet in the room, or
Right.
having to go through any other kind of system, or even touch the in-room phone, which could potentially be a vector for the disease there. So it's something that we certainly at Go Moment have been long-term thinking about these kind of items for 6 or 7 years at this point. And I kind of wanted to ask you, as you see these items of contactless payments, digital guest messaging, which of course Opus has had for quite some time at this point, what are your thoughts on this future of guests feeling safer by having technology at their disposal? And what are your plans in terms of implementing some additional technologies beyond the great suite that Opus already offers?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, Raj, I think transparency, as I mentioned earlier on, and methods of communication are so critical right now. Hearing from our guests has always been important for any hotel, but
Mm-hmm.
now it's having to make sure you're mining that information and then really listening to what is being said. Go Moment, we've been so blessed to have that style of communication that right now, what a
Right.
perfect dovetail into this mess that we all find ourselves in with the pandemic, that it allows that seamless communication, that it doesn't have to be to a specific department. And not to sound like you're a salesperson, but it works. It's intuitive. It just seems to fit into a 96-room boutique setting perfectly. But we have other partners that then temperature check when the guest first stays, checks in and onto their Wi-Fi system, and it's about learning right there and then, if they feel unsafe, how can we make things different before we get into your stay? So it's that pre-arrival communication, it's the during their stay communication, and then of course post. And it's not just asking for a TripAdvisor review. It's more about a more wholesome discussion about what could we have done better. And so I
Mm-hmm.
think through that process, hotels are going to figure out where there may be cracks in that safe environment that you are talking about, that we all have to work hard to provide. And it's going to be a process. It's, no one, I don't have the book on how to operate a hotel in a pandemic. And if
Right.
someone out there does, I'd love to get a copy.
Exactly.
We're just going to have to work through it.
Absolutely. It's I think it's something that has been unfolding for quite some time, is that things have just been getting more dynamic, even pre-COVID, and certainly today's environment is as dynamic, as volatile, even as it has been in recent memory. And I think that it just makes it so much more important for the lodging provider, the hotel, to actually manage the expectations and expect the unexpected, and make sure that they're staying ahead of it. So the point that you make regarding hospitality now starting well before the guest ever shows up to your doors is just so incredible, and exactly right in this kind of context, because it seems that the hospitality experience has now transcended and gone beyond the four walls of the hotel. Right, things are now happening pre-arrival, things are happening curbside, things are going to continue to happen, and it's a constant conversation that hotels are now engaging in with their guests, pre-arrival all the way to post-stay. And you're right, it goes so much further than a TripAdvisor review. That it is something that we definitely need to innovate on. And regarding the playbook on how to run a hotel, I'll do a shameless plug here. That Go Moment actually has recently created an ebook on contactless hospitality that I'd really encourage every independent hotelier to check out. And it's something that we've really aggregated a lot of information about what the new normal kind of looks like, at least up until right now, and made it available to the industry as our thanks and our giving back in this at this moment. Um,
It all helps, Raj. It all helps.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think we're all kind of creating the playbook as we're going along, but it takes innovators like you and like OPUS Vancouver that are really at the forefront of implementing these technologies to see what is really truly going to move the needle for the guests. Because at this point, a lot of people are taking guesses, but there are certain things that we know just are working out there already. And I guess to that end, Nicholas, as a final question for you, what advice do you have for other independent hotels at this time that are all, tackling this uncertainty, putting a smile on their face, greeting guests, and and still kind of innovating and changing their hospitality experience as they're going along?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good question, and I think each hotel is going to have to really look inwardly and make sure that first and foremost their teams are well looked after. That the people that are going to execute on everything we just talked about, that the technologies, all of these things that kind of put together create this amazing experience. It all has to start with each property's amazing team that feels confident, safe, and well looked after by their own property's senior team or ownership. And from there, a lot of good things are going to happen. If you have that culture established, you have that warmth and approachable feeling within your own team. I truly believe that family-oriented feeling pays off dividends, because that's where you have staff happy to come to work. Sounds kind of corny, but on all these accolades that hotels get,
Right.
that's where the foundation is. And I think during these times of dire, tough decisions being made, I think it becomes even more important to look after your most important asset, which is the team.
100%. I think it always has to be about the people that are ultimately going to serve the guest. And if your own team don't feel certain in what they're doing, if they don't feel safe, and if they don't feel well looked after, how can we possibly expect them to deliver the best guest experience
Agreed.
ultimately? Yeah, so it's definitely a great point of high leverage there. Um, I guess just as we wrap up, any other thoughts that you have, Nicholas, in terms of the road ahead for independent hotels, and what they can learn from your decades of experience leading an award-winning property out there?
Well, the decades of experience have allowed us to really enjoy and craft the guest experience over the past 18 years here at Opus. But it's a lot about best practices, and I think a lot of the independent hotels have to learn from each other.
Mm-hmm.
And whether it's in New York or a Seattle or a Vancouver hotel, we're going to have to, again, continue to kind of prop each other up and say, hey, this is something that's going to help with the overall experience, or something to do with safety protocols. And I think that level of communication and how we reach out to each other will be important as we move forward. I've benefited personally for so many hotels that I've kind of stayed and seen best practices, that I think this is something that I can see latching onto would be important.
100%. It's yeah, you raise a really good point that I think in the past, when times have been good, hotels have looked to either protect exactly their trade secrets, or exactly how they're kind of looking at things, and not sharing that information. But at this point, it is definitely incumbent on the entire industry to come together as one to craft this new guest experience that is going to encourage people to travel again, to feel very safe while they're doing it, and to really get back to the point of what hotel stays have always meant, which is a phenomenal new experience that will be unforgettable. That's something that really takes you out of your kind of zone and reveals something new. But none of that can really truly happen without that safety. So yeah, I definitely would encourage everybody listening and everybody that's going to tune in to collaborate more with with your neighbors, with other hotels out there. One of the things that we're also doing is that as Go Moment, since we work with hundreds of different hotels, that we're always taking the best in class kind of information, and understanding how to handle some messages automatically from guests, and actually baking it into the system. So actually, that is one way that a lot of hotels are already collaborating by making Ivy smarter, and ultimately making that a better guest experience for their customers as well.
Yeah, I mean, Raj, just a quick note on that AI development that you guys and the team have done. 100% couldn't agree more. It's a differentiator. It's a technology that our team has embraced, and I think it's because of those advances they've really warmly embraced it, because they know it makes a difference with the guest experience.
Thank you, Nicholas. I appreciate you sharing your experience there. And yeah, one of the things that coming from a hotel ownership and management background myself, from my family, one of the things that we saw is that one of the ways to take care of your staff is to take the mundane things. If your staff are answering 100 times a day what the Wi-Fi password is, or where can I get hand sanitizer or something like that, just taking that off their plate is a really incredible gesture and an incredible way of actually taking care of them, and freeing them up to actually focus on the guest in front of them, focus on the real hospitality issues that you guys have at Opus just implemented brilliantly well. So congratulations on all the success so far, and really appreciate you joining us today for this discussion on the future guest experience at hotels.
Thanks, Raj. I've really enjoyed it.
Absolutely. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. Thank you, ILC, and we look forward to connecting again soon. Take care, everyone. Bye.
Goodbye.